Facilitating this, I'm going to play a very minor role. Socrates said that if you stayed quiet long enough, people would assume you were a philosopher, so that'll be my strategy. For now, I'll just settle on introducing our speakers. We're going to proceed starting at my far left, your right. We have Colleen Ostoforoff, who's an arts management professional with the Saskatchewan Association of Theatre Professionals. To her right is Alan Wong. We're on her turf tonight, so pay him special respect. He's the technical director and director of marketing development at Shakespeare in Saskatchewan. Thank you for opening up your home to us. To his right is Andrew Haas, who's president of artSpace Saskatoon. And we have Cynthia Dyck, who's one of the co-founders of On the Boards and is here in her capacity as, what's the name of it? Open source. Thank you, Cynthia. To her right, Vanessa Bonk, who's with the Association of Creative Industries of Saskatchewan. Then Jennifer Bishop, who's brand newly minted Artistic Director of Tootoosis Nīkānīwin Theatre. Kathy Allen, who is currently Arts and Creative Consultant, Arts and Grants Consultant, City of Saskatoon. And to my immediate left, Philip Adams, Program Consultant for the Saskatchewan Arts Board. Thank you all for coming out. I also get to be strict timekeeper. I've told them they have 3 minutes. So one good idea, that's something you want to stick with them. We'll go through all the speakers, and then you'll see in the middle there is an open mic there. If you have a question or a comment, even if you're really confident in your stage voice, do go up, use the microphone. I'll recognize you, and we'll have about half the time for the speakers, and then another good half hour, maybe 40 minutes for discussion. Okay, Colleen, over to you.
Thank you for your introduction. Many of my colleagues might remember me from ArtSpace Saskatchewan as a program manager a couple years ago. And as my bio is quite lengthy, I won't talk about that, but I want to talk about my new exciting venture with a new organization, not-for-profit organization. I am currently the first executive director for the Saskatchewan Association of Theatre Professionals, commonly known as SATPA, where I started the position literally the beginning of June, so I'm really new, like somebody else down here. SATPA had its first annual general meeting back in 2014, where we began to sign theaters and individual theater professionals into our membership. As a membership-based organization, we have 4 different levels, being professional organization, a professional individual, organization associate, and individual associate. Initially created to represent the needs of Saskatchewan professional theatre industry to government agencies such as Creative Saskatchewan, we realized that SATPA is more than just theatre professionals, but professional performing organizations and artists who cross over genres. So what do? SATPA seeks to empower, connect, and respond to organizations and individuals that make up our community. We not only represent professional theatre organizations, but individuals that range from actors, directors, designers, artistic associates, playwrights, administrative staff, producers, technicians, stage managers, musicians, and everything in between that might be involved with the professional theatre. This year, SATPA signed the creation of a new agreement with Creative Saskatchewan to receive official operational support as the 7th industry association from the agency. This funding will allow us to explore more opportunities with all professional live performing artists to collaborate and create multidisciplinary art worthy of national dissemination. Last year, SATPA strengthened and created a positive impact by building successful advocacy initiatives with the creative industry sector in Saskatchewan and Canada, and reinforcing relationships with other national service and theatre organizations. If anyone is interested in becoming a member, our website has membership details on it, listed at SaskatchewanTheatreProfessionals.ca. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Dyck, and my fellow guests here and everyone here. Thanks for coming out today. I guess I'll get right to it. The one thing I wanted to bring up in terms of the state of the arts is just the fragility of arts in Saskatoon in terms of administration. And it's balancing the funding you get between paying your administrators, paying for your space, and paying your artists and doing service to your art form. So when your funder says, okay, you're a professional theatre company, so you need to be doing professional theatre, and I'm thinking back to my days at SNTC, now we're in Tootoosis, Nīkānīwin Theatre, where at that theatre company, there were so many things that we had to do in the community. We had to do them, and one of them was Circle of Voices. And yet our funding didn't necessarily reflect that. And it was always up in the air every year, are we going to be able to continue this program? But yet, for the Indigenous theatre community, it's absolutely essential, I think, in Saskatoon that there is some sort of an introductory program and that thing going on. So here at Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan, we're trying to find multiple strategies to raise enough money to keep doing what we do. How much do we raise our ticket prices? This year we were able to access some money from Creative Saskatchewan, the new funding body, and just trying to diversify our revenues. But the other thing we're looking at in terms of our site redevelopment, so we have a sign there talking about that and our future plans, and that's shared platforms. So how can we use our site and let other people use our site and take advantage of that and find other ways, revenue streams, and basically share our space to make it more viable to keep going, so that we can pay ourselves, pay our artists, and make it all viable. So I'll let Cynthia talk more about shared platforms, because she's been doing some amazing work in the community, finding free rehearsal space, things like that. Just anything we can do to make it work. And so that's why I'm really excited to hear what Andrew has to say about the next big shared platform, which is ArtSpace. So once again, thanks for coming, everybody. And fill out our survey. So check out our signboard there. There's one outside the gates as well. We're planning a big redevelopment here. And there's a survey there. Take a picture of it on your phone, go home. It's SurveyMonkey /r/Shakespeare. Just do it. Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you, Alan. That's quite the introduction. Thank you, Dan Saskatchewan, for hosting this tonight and inviting me. My name is Andrew Haas. I'm relatively new to Saskatchewan. I'm the president of ArtSpace Saskatoon. We're a volunteer, non-profit organization. We're based out of the 220 down in Riversdale. My wife Robin and I are newcomers to, well, I'm new to Saskatchewan. Robin's lived here for many years. But we're hobby artists. I dabble a little bit in woodwork. Robin is she crochets, embroiders, and she's an inspiring potter as well. We moved to Caswell Hill about 2 years ago, and I learned about the vision of ArtSpace and their idea to repurpose the bus barns in that neighborhood. This is very exciting for me personally, as I'm a construction project manager and an artist as well, and I just knew that I had to get involved. I've been very fortunate to travel around the world and see and live in different places, from studying abroad in Shanghai, China, to living in Nīkānīwin in the Northwest Territories, very massive population to very small population. And what I learned that was no matter where I was, I always sought out a sense of community. And when I had that sense of community, I felt at home. So what I believe is that a city's value to its citizens is that ability to create a sense of community. Community really endears us to wherever we live, and really kind of gives us that sense of our hometown. I've only lived in Saskatchewan for a few short years, and I've already felt the overwhelming pride and welcoming nature of everybody in Saskatchewan, and I really have been blown away by that, and it's awesome. It's very endearing. So what I've experienced from the art community in Saskatchewan here is that we have a very vibrant arts community. This is a true testament to it. the thing that I've seen is that it's scattered across the city and across the province. The vision of ArtSpace Saskatoon is to bring all of these groups and all of these artistic minds together in one place and provide a physical, collaborative environment for all ages, abilities, backgrounds to teach, to learn, and to inspire one another. So we believe this community model will not only generate great art, but it will also support an artist economy that will continue to feed back into Saskatoon's culture and further enrich it. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing more from everybody here tonight and hearing questions both from the moderator and the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan made reference to the fact that I run a shared platform, which is on the board's staging company. We started in 2006 before the term shared platform actually meant anything. And the best way to understand it, and even what Shakespeare is kind of talking about, but in terms of on the boards, is to think of it as a shared resource. So it's a shared resource, and we focus on independent artists, independent performing artists, and small arts organizations. So we bring resources together that they can use, that a lot of different people can use. A program that we started this last year that follows that model is called the Open Storefront Project. And it's a program where we take empty retail space and make it available for free for rehearsals, meetings, workshops, basically anything that you need to do to create a performance, all the things that have to happen before you actually get it in front of an audience. It was set up with theater performance in mind. However, it is available to any artists who do not have money to pay for creation space. We're able to do this by finding businesses and property owners who are willing to let artists temporarily work in their storefronts while they are looking for paying tenants. The open part of the title refers to the fact that the storefront windows are open, so passers-by can see what's going on inside. This project grew out of the need for rehearsal space for theater production. This city is blessed with a lot of performance space for like small theater performance space, and for a city our size, we really punch above our weight on that. But we don't have rehearsal space. The rehearsal space that does exist is the indies can't afford to use it. So people were working in garages and store basements and places that weren't good, they weren't healthy for the people, and they weren't necessarily conducive to the art, nor respectful of the art, too. So last year, we started with our first storefront. We had 2 different retail spots on Broadway Theatre. We also had a pop-up on 20th at the Symphony offices for one production. And also what happened when we started this project, I wanted to mention too, is that other arts organizations also contacted me and said, hey, you need space? Well, give us a call, because we might be able to work it in our schedule. Broadway Theatre was one of them, Down Saskatchewan was one of them. And I think that says something about the community that we do live in, that we are kind of all willing to share what we do have. The first storefront, last year. Now, this spring we moved into a really large storefront in Confederation Mall. And it is a place that we will be until next spring. So it's a large space, and the benefit, or an added benefit, is we'll be able to be there for a year. So we'll be able to make other plans in that space. At first, the idea of moving around the city seemed like a weakness, but since I've realized that it's a real opportunity because we can be visible to people in very different neighborhoods. Being mobile has actually become a real asset. Not only does the space change, so some spaces are really good for dance and the next one isn't, but it's okay because in 3 months we'll probably be in another one that's going to be good for music, who knows. But to be able to move around the city and take art to where people live, rather than always expecting them to come to us, has really changed my perspective. The format, the storefront storefront format tries to go a step beyond just providing space for artists. We want to develop relationships with the business community, and so far in our experience, they've been very responsive. The small businesses understand that arts is important to their city. It's good for business. They get that. The larger corporations and stuff, which I think we're often as arts organizations going to, it's a different relationship. But the smaller businesses really get it. They're very much like us, and I think we are missing opportunities that we could partner with the business community, small business community in the city. We're also trying to develop the artist presence in the community. The Confederation Mall invited us in because they know that there's not much of an arts presence in their West Side neighborhood, and they recognize that it is important. It is an important part to build a community, and that's what they're trying to do in their mall. So we also hope to change with this project, change some of the artist experience too, by inviting the artists to open their creative process to the public, of course in a safe, controlled way. We are hoping to affect the relationship between artists and audience. Now, one way that's already happening is that the public, as they walk by these windows day after day, are becoming aware of the amount of time and work that goes into preparing something before it goes in front of an audience. And they're also seeing how many things are going on. The final piece that we're hoping, and this is up to the artist, is, but I'm also very curious and hoping that this process, in changing the process a bit in creation, it will affect the art. And so I'm curious, and I'm looking forward to see how the artists start dealing with opening up their creation process and being observed while that's going on.
I didn't know whether it was on or not. Hi everyone. So I am Vanessa, and I'm part-time executive director of ACES, or the Association of Creative Industries of Saskatchewan. We have a small membership, but of just 9, but they're all large organizations that represent the creative sector. Some of them represent just the industrial end of the artistic continuum, and some, represent the whole ecology. So there's Sask Music, media production, galleries, books, crafts, dance, visual arts, theater. And those 9 have this association so that they have a forum for discussion. And when they meet 4 to 6 times a year, this is where they, learn what the other organizations are up to, because traditionally they're too busy to be keeping an eye on what everyone else is doing. They come up with joint ventures, partnerships. They exchange, success stories, come up with strategies to overcome barriers and issues. So, this is a really valuable place for this kind of exchange and discussion to take place. And it's how we resolve some of the things, like Alan was presenting, where, you don't have enough funds to have an impact, but if you don't have funds for people, you can't make an impact. So, we also do things. There is a national organization similar to ours, so we engage with them and provide them feedback on the scene here in Saskatchewan. And we're kind of the one-stop shop for funders and stakeholders who are trying to find out what's happening within the creative industries. Essentially the vision for the organization is a healthy environment, creative economy. And I think this is something that speaks to politicians and the public in Saskatchewan. Beyond the artistic benefits of the community, there is an economic benefit to the community. And I think that needs to be recognized.
I wanted to start out with a joke, but I couldn't Google one in time, so. Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Bishop. I'm not new to Saskatchewan, but I am new to being an AD. So that's a whole lot of something you gotta learn along the way. But for me, I'm here on behalf of Nīkānīwin Theatre, formerly known as SaskatchewanAndrew Theatre Company. And I know Alan touched base a little bit on the Circle of Voices program, and I'll touch a little bit more on it because I'm pretty well a living product of what kind of theater program that was. I was 13 years old when they first started back in 1999, and you know, it was a life-changing program. I immediately knew what I wanted to do because it gave me just something to look forward to and wanting to stay connected into the arts in any shape or form. Did I think I was going to be AD someday? Probably not. But I think along the way it's such an interesting journey to get out of theater and then starting out in GTNT and then meeting all this other enriched theater program that happens in the city, and you find out it's another family that can live on its own. And our theater has like grown not only just from starting out as an awesome program, it has also developed new forms of theater works from in and around Saskatchewan from all sorts of artists, and we want to keep that alive. I never knew that there was like Indigenous theater, and one of the biggest goals that I have now that I'm part of the company is to give back to the very program that started me. And I believe in our theater program. I believe in GTNT and all theater, and I want to work super hard in keeping it going. And like anyone else, as a nonprofit, you know, funding, it can hurt, or it can also be like awesome. Even little amounts can help, because I can't even imagine what pennies they had when they first started our company. And just having this like beautiful relationship with Shakespeare in Saskatchewan and other places, because when you don't have a lot of dollars, there's always a theater buddy that's there to help you out, whether they are lending you a space or volunteering some time or some discounted prices, or just like if they want to do workshops with you, you know, they're there to help you out. And that's what's really important with our community and GTNT. You know, I'm going to keep fighting to keep it going and to bring in new forms of theater. Even if it just seems like a small chance, my goal is to dream big and hopefully take our programs out of the province, take it as far as we can. So that's what I'm here to do, and we'll see all the lovely people today.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. My name is Kathy Allen. I'm the Arts and Dance Consultant with the City of Saskatoon, and I work out of the Community Development Department. Just have some random thoughts on the subject of the state of the arts in Saskatoon. They're reflective of my thoughts as a City of Saskatoon employee, but they're not like an official City of Saskatoon position. So I'll just clarify that right now. Let's say, to me, everything goes through cycles. Attendance, sponsorship, government funding, leadership, activity, programming, etc. You know, right now funding is down provincially, and that is impacting things municipally. Attendance has been dropping across the arts sector, but it seems to be back on the upswing. Federal funding has increased. There's been a real influx of cultural spaces dollars into Saskatoon since the latest change in government. Sponsorship dollars were down this past few years. I don't know if that's a short-term situation or not. I have heard some people saying they see that that's going to start shifting back. There's been changes in leadership, new artistic directors, general managers, executive producers, and some new entities. We've launched galleries at Ostoforoff, the Remy Modern Art Gallery, and a real increase in public art, and there'll be more coming in that area. Saskatoon has recently seen a population boom, with a large part of that boom coming from newcomers to Canada. So right now we're in the middle of summer and festival season, and things in the arts are looking pretty good. That's what my colleagues said when I told them I was coming along. They think it's pretty good. So I would agree with that. I gathered a bit of statistical information about the arts in Saskatoon. This information comes from CADAC, that's the Canadian Arts Database, that's used by most provincial funders and the Canada Council. I rounded it up because I do not have access to, it doesn't include TCU Place or SaskTel Center or the many, many independent shows in town. So here we are, Saskatoon, population of 262,000, or 300,000 if you include the surrounding area. $32 million generated by the arts, over 1 million people attending the arts, 3,500 artists getting paid, and 5,000 people volunteering. And there's a lot more to come in 2017, and I think that's kind of impressive for a mid-sized prairie city. So I just want to leave you with one more thing, and that's the concept of an anonymous space. And I first heard about this at a conference last year. And the idea behind an anonymous space is that it is so diverse that the people who are in it are anonymous, as opposed to being the only person of a visible background in the room, like visibly by your age, your race, your ability, your gender, etc. I'm really intrigued by this concept, and I think it's a space we're striving for, and I really encourage you just to think about what that would mean. And, you know, have you been in an anonymous space, or have you been the person who everybody else is of the same whatever, and you're not, so you feel a bit like the other? So just very intriguing concept. So something I think to strive for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Doug, you started off by saying one good idea. So this is my one idea. I'm not sure whether it's good or not. The state of the arts. The Saskatchewan Arts Board wants to support artists. The only way artists can get better is by practice. One of the things that the Saskatchewan Arts Board does with your dollars is give money to artists and arts organizations so that they can get better. My provocative idea, and I think arts have to be provocative, is that good enough ain't good enough. I think we need to force more money into more artists' pockets, and we can only do that with your help. You can call us up. You can talk to us. We provide money, but the other thing that we do is we provide assistance about how to get that money. And we talk about writing good grant application. We do all kinds of things. Kathy can attest to that. That's one of the things that we do. So I encourage you, I exhort you, I plead with you, come and talk to us. Make application to the Arts Board because, okay, that's my Arts Board hat. If you apply for more money, we get to go to the government and say, look at all these artists who want more money, give us more money. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the speakers. Nice diversity of viewpoints there, different forms of involvement in the arts. It's now your turn. There is the open mic there. Don't be shy. Come up. Even if you've just got the joke that Jen wasn't able to find on Google. Doesn't have to be a question, a comment. Could be to one person on the panel. Could be an open-ended question to anybody in the room. So the floor is yours. Please make use of it.
Okay, I'll jump on it. Thanks, Philip, for speaking about getting money into the pockets of artists. That was kind of what I was thinking, listening to everybody here. Yeah, facilities are great, and administration is necessary, and all these things. But for example, as a movement performance artist, a dancer, there's not much money. There's almost no money coming into dancers' pockets in Saskatoon. And we are dancing for you in many venues, in many places, and creating and working very hard. But actual salaries or bursaries or artist fees and that kind of thing for dancers are very few and far between. And the idea of applying for Arts Board money, that's also great, applying for money. But as an artist, that's one thing that has often been a difficulty for me because I'm not really very good at applying for money. I'm much better at doing art. So I just want to throw that out to everybody, and if anybody has any comments on that theme, that would be great.
Thank you.
I'll just make the comment that I think one benefit of applying for an application, the creation of demand aside, is it can help the person applying really clarify their thoughts. And I think if they really are articulating well through the application process about the meaning they want to make, and it's not for everybody. Some people are never going to be a grant writer and they shouldn't be doing it, but for many people, particularly if they're doing big productions, to have to go through a clear budget process and really think through what they're doing and why they're doing it can help them regardless of whether or not they get the funding, especially because many people are going to go ahead with their project anyway, so that can be a good, I know it's work, but it can be a good exercise, and to get feedback and to get better, to take that time to think things through can be helpful.
The only other point that I'd like to bring up is the vision of artSpace, again, that collaborative environment. It is a facility, but what that facility provides is a myriad of people, performance artists, other artists, all in one space that maybe Alan's gone through the process 100 times and could come up to you and say, here are the 5 steps that you need to do in order to get your application approved. Having that community quickly available to one another, I think is going to be very important. And no, we don't necessarily have people that can walk us through every single step of every single application, but there will be people within our community that we can lean upon. That's one vision that I see coming out of artSpace.
I'm gonna pick on you. See, I think you're really good at articulating what it is that you want and what you need. And that's all that writing a grant application. It's this big behemoth that people go, oh, I can't write a grant application. Imagine being a musician. It's all in their hands. Dancers, the same thing, it's all in your bodies. It's not everybody has a facility with language, but I encourage you to take courage, because you can articulate it, and other people who aren't writers can articulate it, and if you're having trouble, call us up. That's one of the things that we do, so take courage.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Yeah, that's great advice. The rules that I wrote I put on a sheet of paper on the wall at GTNT when I was there was, number 1, start at least 2 weeks early. Like, don't start the night before. Number 2, call them. Like, so many people don't do that. Philip Adams is there to help you fill out your grant application. Call him. He'll tell you what to write in it. And one thing I learned, this wasn't in the arts, I did my master's at the university, and I had to apply for a SHRC grant, Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council. And so I wrote out what I thought was this great proposal to get funding for a year. And I was in interdisciplinary studies, and the guy in charge of that, Mr. Fulton, he said, send your application to this woman. And it was a woman in the Edwards School of Business. And I said, well, what does she know about what I'm doing? And he said, well, she knows how to write SHRC applications, just give it to her. And when I got that application back, I was like, oh, now I get it. Like, you know, you can find people that can help you write too, that can, you know, maybe take your words and put them in grant speak for you. Yeah, that was the biggest grant I've ever got in my life, and that was all because of her, I'm sure.
Other questions or comments or stories?
Hi. I was really happy when I saw this on Facebook about State of the Arts. To give you guys some background, I'm leading a group that's looking at putting together a facility that's going to be focusing on ceramics, glass, and a couple other things. And so in the last year and a half, gone through the whole grant application process, and yeah, it's exhausting, but luckily in the spring, I was able to get about $400,000 in grants pulled together, and using that money right now to leverage a commercial loan from BDC, so they've been really great partners. That process was tough enough, but one thing that kind of caught me off guard entering into this, and something I never expected, is I know there's a lack of creative space in the city of Saskatoon, but one thing that really caught me off guard is when I found a building, and it looked like, you know, it would be great, good parking, everything there. It turned out the zoning didn't work for the city. And so we had to kind of step back and look at it again, and apparently it was too close to the chemical plant, and because we're zoned as an educational institution, it's very specific. Also a manufacturer, which is very confusing, but that's sort of what the city sort of deemed. And so another location was found. Sadly, the parking requirements weren't good enough for having a teaching facility. So it's been a very frustrating process. Been actively looking since February and can't find a space to actually locate the facility. As you all know, with funders, there's a time frame, and I feel like there's a ticking clock, and it'd be really disappointing to lose that type of investment to our city. And I've been a member of the Saskatoon Potters Guild since '99, and Kathy, you mentioned the city's grown so much, and our facilities stayed the same. I think it's been around since the '60s, but our space hasn't gotten any bigger. The organization isn't equipped to really grow. And our membership is, the wait list is as large as our membership, and our classes sell out within 24 hours and they're not advertised. So it's really, I don't know, I'm here kind of out of frustration. I don't know kind of what to do. The market's really limited. They're basically two big commercial players that own most of the land. And as we went through the business planning process, we discovered that a facility like this, we needed to own the space in order to have it work properly, especially when you have a lot of HVAC requirements, you're putting in heavy-duty equipment. The idea of leasing and maybe having to move it just wasn't cost-effective. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. It's been kind of a rude awakening. I thought funding would be the hardest part, but it turned out to be actually finding a place to locate it. So, yeah, I don't know. Great. Draw comments? I was really excited, Cynthia. I thought maybe you might have. You have 4,000 square feet.
If you can just dance to your pottery, then we can talk.
Yeah. I'm going to sit down, but yeah, just something to ponder. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you for that.
Have you talked to Curtis Olson? Do you know Curtis Olson?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
He's fantastic.
Okay, yeah. Curtis really helped out GTNT. The company owns some buildings on 20th, and he purchased those from us, and the company moved to, I still say us, the company moved to share a space with LotteriesCreative, but yeah, I mean, he's all about shared platforms and innovative ideas as well, and a great supporter of the arts in Saskatoon. So if you got him on your side, I don't know what to do.
I don't know how much I can help you, but I could just tell you that it never hurts to not give up. Sometimes looking in the places that you least suspect could be a good friend. We started out in the auditorium of an elementary school. I also attended that school, so it was a very short walk for me, but sometimes you just meet people and talk to them, even just having some sort of exchange. We offer one of the programs we run, Playhouse. We needed a place to host a festival. They were willing to do that for free because it was free for the students. So sometimes if you could find weird creative ways for borrowed space, because some of these schools are really expanding, like St. Mary's has an entire dance room that's not always utilized, or it's a classroom. So sometimes if you do a little tradesies here and there until you find your dream space, just make it your own and don't give up yet.
I've got a question that I'll put to the panel. It's based on a story I heard once from an old friend of mine who eventually found himself high up in the federal civil service in Ottawa, and he was eventually working as a kind of gatekeeper to the minister in charge of the Heritage Branch. So he saw people going through his office all the time, all wanting to see the minister and all wanting money. And part of his job was to brief them. He said, look, when you go in, don't just beg for money. The minister hears that 20 times a day. The minister is completely numb to that. If you get 3 minutes of the minister's time, you have to talk enthusiastically about what you're doing, saying we're doing wonderful creative work here. can you support us, or would you like to be part of it? And he'd do the briefing every time, person would nod, then they'd go through the door and he'd listen, and he could almost hear them fall into their knees and begging for money. So I'm curious about how this resonates with your experience. How do you weigh the balance between conveying how urgently you do need the money, but at the same time sounding positive and vibrant, and we're going to do it anyway, and this is exciting, and we're proud of what we're doing, and so on. The positive message and the negative, the tactics of all that. Any experience there?
I think of it as road construction. Society needs arts as much as they need roads. If you go into the Minister of Transport and you say, we need to have a road out to this new community out there, there's no question. It's just like, this is the amount of money we need, and this is the company we're going to, we decided to do it, we put it out to tender, they're going to come back, they're going to do it. All of a sudden you get a road built. And it takes over $1 million per kilometer of new highway to be built. So, there.
Need reading glasses. My suggestion is, I'm putting on many hats, and a lot of my history background is to continue to build your relationships and knock on everybody's door that you can possibly knock on, and just even get out the word. It's the first I've heard about it, which I'm really excited to hear about. So just because I'm not working in your discipline doesn't mean I can't help you. I maybe can't today, but it's in the back of my mind, and you never know what might happen along the way. Build relationships, that's all I can suggest.
Yeah, we at SCTP, before we, it was a long struggle to get funding. We were ignored because, in theater, because we just don't make any money. We don't have a product to sell, we don't have a CD or a piece of pottery or whatever. We got the ear of the minister, and we did go in there and we just talked about how great we were. I think that did have a bigger effect in the long run. We kept everything positive as much as possible right up until the final meeting with the third CEO of Creative Sask, in which he said he was looking forward to meetings, and we said, "Oh, so we're frozen out," and that phrase really got his attention. Because we said, well, we still don't have funding, so I guess we're frozen out. And we just kind of looked sad. And, yeah, we got $50,000. So, I think it's really important that you're in it for the long game. If you're just like, and being respectful of who you're asking money of. And it's different for every, if it's an individual donor, if it's a corporation, if it's a small business. And it's like a whole skill set. But I think the best advice, if you're thinking of the long game, not the short game, the best advice I ever heard was, if you want advice, ask for money. But if you want money, ask for advice. Can I just say one more thing? We did, when I was at SNTC, we did ask the Arts Board for more money every single time. More and more and more. And yeah, we got an increase, but it was very marginal. And the same thing at Shakespeare. We keep asking for more and more and more. So don't worry, Phil, we're working on it.
I want to change the point of view a bit here. What I find about the state of the arts right now is that there's lots of opportunities for collaboration, and they kind of zoom by me constantly. And it's what you grab and who you partner with, and focusing on that actually has rejuvenated our organization. And it's easier to find money, not to be stuck in a place where you have to carry out your programs that you've done for the last 20 years or whatever. Being courageous to scramble up what you're doing, to talk to new people and to work with them. I find it to be a really exciting time right now. And yes, there's no doubt money is a challenge, but I think no matter how much money we have, we would find it challenging because we would always be embracing something new. So I think it's worth focusing on the opportunity and the creation and what you want to do and finding ways to get it done. And that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
I think that rings very true, because when you become friends with so many people in the theater community and they want to start up a relationship, we started one up with Shep. And, you know, if your organization didn't necessarily mean that you got everything, but your friend did, and they want to collab, well, they're there to help you. So I think it is a great idea to always develop relationships in the areas you least suspect. And yeah, that was a great reminder when you came up and spoke, so thanks.
Through ArtSpace, I'm hoping that we can create a space where those types of collaborative conversations can happen on a day-to-day basis, and it may not zoom by you every single time. You may be able to reach out and grab them more often than not. And then creating the other piece of it, we keep coming back to this discussion around money and the idea of creating a centralized, well, a more centralized artist economy where, you know, you discuss these ideas, having the money come back into the artist's pockets. If we can create a place where we're attracting tourism, we're attracting visitors, and our local Saskatchewan and Saskatoon individuals coming in to patronize the arts, we have more and more money coming into the artist's pockets. So again, I am very excited and am looking forward to seeing how ArtSpace is going to grow in collaboration with all the various organizations in Saskatchewan already.
I just have one more thing to say. Can you hear me? There we go. Okay. The storefront project, the idea from it came about by keeping my eye on what I needed rather than changing my focus to try to find the money to buy what I needed. And so by just going, I need a space, I started seeing space around me and just went and asked people if I could use it. And it was a heck of a lot easier than trying to find the money to rent the space to use it. Now, that doesn't, there's always, I mean, in the scheme of things, there's always a certain amount of money that has to get into a pocket to buy groceries and put a roof over people's heads. But even the storefront, what I hope it will do for the artist that's using it is they don't have to put money towards that. So the little bit of money they might have can go into their pocket. So I think that it is an example of keeping your eye on what the vision is and finding a way to make the vision happen, as opposed to getting caught in that direct road to I need the money to.
Hey everyone, my name is Lorna, and I kind of bounce around and work all over the place, predominantly with youth, but I do a lot of volunteer work in the city as well. And I just want to talk about the storefront for a moment, because in one of my other capacities, I did receive an email from Cynthia mentioning that the storefront was looking for people to use it. And I happen to have been working on a little show at that point in time for Saskatoon Summer Players, which is a volunteer organization. But our organization needed to build a castle and have a rehearsal space for 46 people, plus a production team of 10 to 20 other people who were coming and going. And the best that we could find was an empty, dusty storage space that didn't have bathrooms. So instead, I contacted Cynthia, and Cynthia said, sure, come and take a look. And we were able to put a castle up in a mall with a Starbucks, have running bathrooms, rehearse our show, and we made some interesting connections in the community, because I've never directed a show before where I'd be working on a scene and suddenly have someone tap me on the shoulder and ask if we were making a movie. So it was kind of interesting, because you kind of stop, and then you talk to the individual and explain what's going on, and they smile and nod and watch for a bit, and then they go back and they do their shopping. So it was very interesting. It was definitely an interactive experience, but I'll tell you, we never would have been able to do the show without it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We've got maybe time for one more question, and then there's a show happening very soon. Anyone want the last word? If not, go ahead.
I'm a big mouth, so I'll laugh.
I just want anybody to talk back to you.
Thank you for being honest. I run the Broadway Theatre here in Saskatoon, and I guess all I want to do is make a short statement about what we think the state of the arts is right now. And it's echoed almost everything that's been said. The fact is, nobody's funding envelope is getting bigger. The people that we need to ask money for, they don't have more, and it's not their fault. They're trying to do the best they can with what they have. Corporate support, as was mentioned, has been flat, maybe falling, but the thing that I would suggest that we've been able to do at the Broadway, we're among the lowest funded at what we do in Western Canada. We barely broke into 10% of our budget coming from all levels of funding recently. So that was a big hooray for us. But in the meantime, in the last 8 years, we've gone from serving 28,000 people a year to 80,000. And all I can tell you is, if you have something that you think is worth doing, you should do it. We've never gotten funding to present a show, and we've been presenting live performance for 8 years now. We've done over 300 shows, and we've done it as essentially a private promoter does. And all I can say that I hope is encouraging to people is, if you believe in what you do, you have to just keep doing it. What we've done at the theater is, it doesn't fit any funding silo. We're a venue, we own 3 festivals, but we can't get festival funding. We present shows in other venues, so we're an organization. And we sometimes even are starting to be curatorial and even creationary in some ways. And I'm not bragging about it, I'm telling you that we work tirelessly at it. We do it without any promise of funding. And we believe firmly that if it's worth doing, we try and do it, and the money will come. And that might sound like cold comfort to people who feel like they're on the verge of crashing and burning, because that's all we do is work hard. But I just wanted to say that our experience in my 8 or 9 years at the Broadway has been that we've grown the place by triple. We've partnered with everybody under the sun who will say yes to us, and we are encouraged to keep going ourselves. And so I hope everyone in this room who gives a shit about what they do, and about what they create, and about what they present, and about what they share with the larger community, I just hope you keep doing it and working at it. And good people, like Philip said, are out there. They will help you. Just keep asking and keep banging your head against the wall, and good art will happen. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. A good positive note to end on. And thanks to all who spoke up.
Thank you, Douglas. And thank you everyone for coming and listening and joining in the conversation. Thank you for my amazing panel tonight, and also thank you to our funders. Sask Lotteries Trust Fund, as administered by SaskCultureSask, Creative Saskatchewan, ArtsVestThe, and Saskatchewan Arts Board.